let's say, you know, if this video can get at least like 5K views.
Here's how the story goes. We find out about a treasure in the Grand Line. There's no doubt.
So, wow. Thank you guys. Thank you, One Piece fans. I really, really appreciate it. All of the kind responses, all of the many, many, many great comments that I got on that previous video. I didn't expect, man. You never really know how a video is going to do on YouTube. I mean, sometimes you put something out and you're like, this one's going to be a banger and nobody watches it. And then other times you put a video out and you're like, I don't know how this one's going to do. And all of a sudden, like a bunch of people watch it. You can never predict these things. So I really appreciate it, guys. I was hoping maybe getting like 5K views on that video. So it got past 30 by the time I'm recording this. Thank you guys. And you guys were very, very welcoming, very endearing. And I got to say, so far, because I've heard, you know, mixed things here and there. So far, I gotta say, One Piece fan base, you guys are pretty legit, man. So yeah, I am a first timer to this series, and normally when I make review videos, I try to write a script. I try to like present it a little bit better than just like a dude in a chair talking. Like I try not to do that too much, but I know that Shueisha and like the owners of the copyright of the One Piece manga, they're very, very particular about people showing panels when it comes to YouTube videos. I've seen people's videos get taken down before, so that's the reason why I'm doing these videos kind of off the cuff like this. So it's not really my usual format, but I figure it's an all right way. And then sometimes off the cuff, you know, you never really know what kind of ideas might spur in the moment as I kind of go through all my notes that I wrote about what these chapters are going to be. So the first thing I want to say is that after doing that first video, I'd only read 5 volumes, you know, because it was kind of like my introduction to the series. So I'm just doing 5 at once, just to kind of like throw it out there, see what you guys think. You guys responded very, very well. So then I was like, all right, what is the best format? What is the best way to begin to review this series? And it seemed like most people in the comments and most people that I asked seemed to agree that I should review it by story arc. Okay. And of course, I didn't know what the story arcs were, where they begin or where they end. So I had a lot of people send me information on that. And people said that this was actually the most accurate or pretty damn accurate. So this is just from one of the One Piece kind of wiki pages here. And basically what I did, this is going to be a review of the East Blue arc, which is what I began with the first 5 volumes, but also goes through the first giant story arc that we have here within the series. And this says that ended at chapter 100. So I stopped at chapter 100, and considering that at the end of that chapter, they get to Grand Line, or at least I'm assuming that's Grand Line, that's where the arc ends. So I read up to chapter 100. I'm going to talk about all the things that kind of stood out to me. So going forward, should I do this? Should I just read all of Arabasta? Should I read up to, chapter 217? So read like another 100 chapters before I do another review? I don't know. You guys tell me if that's the best way to do it, but this is kind of the layout I'm looking at as far as the story arcs go, and most people said you should review it by story arc. So let me know if you agree with that, if that's the best format, if that's the best way to go for it, and I'll keep doing it that way. But also with that, I want to say that if I do it by story arc, and there are hundreds of chapters in some of these story arcs, there's not going to be any consistency as far as the frequency of how I upload these reviews. It's going to pretty much, because the thing is, if I try to read through it like as fast as possible to try to get the videos out, I'm going to miss details. I'm probably going to get burnt out on it. I'm probably going to drop it for a while. Like, that's not particularly the way I want to do it, because there's so many chapters and it's so long. I really just kind of want to read it at my leisure, just when I have time to do so. So I am going to be treating it as a priority for the channel, but at the same time, I'm not going to try to like just barrel through the whole thing, because I know that I will get burned out on it at some point if I try to do that. So if you're looking for frequent One Piece videos and One Piece reviews, I can't really tell you when exactly the videos are going to be up. Just stay tuned to the channel, and hopefully, you know, sooner rather than later, I'll try to do my best, but there's going to be no consistent schedule when it comes to this. But anyways, let's talk about the East Blue arc, or at least all the portions that I haven't covered so far. So we are basically beginning with the introduction of Sanji and his incorporation into the story, into the crew, and then kind of from there to the end of East Blue. So I wrote down a bunch of notes. If you see me look it off to my screen on the side, it's a bunch of notes that I wrote down that I want to tackle, because obviously I can't talk about like every single chapter individually, or else this will be like a 5-hour long video. Some people might be down for that, I don't know. But we're going to try to keep it as concise as I can while still getting into details. Now, I have positives, I have negatives. we'll put it all together, and then I also still have questions that you guys can hopefully help me answer down in the comment. I guess at first, let's talk about Sanji, because I talked about the other characters in the last video, and he's the one that I didn't really get to that's part of the main crew. And going by the introduction to Sanji here, I thought his introduction was alright, but I really, really liked his backstory. I think that out of all the main characters, I think Sanji's backstory is actually my favorite. So I like his hopeful ambitions for this thing that's called the All Blue Ocean, or at least that's what it's called in the translation that I read. So all the different fish and delicacies that you could make from particular oceans would all be kind of there at once. And it's kind of this fleeting childhood dream that he has about this myth that it exists, right? And everyone kind of laughs at him and says that it's fake, it's not real, it's just like a child's fairy tale or whatever. But we are living in a world where clearly like magical things exist. We have the devil fruits, and like the entire world doesn't even seem to be fully mapped out, if I have that correct, because Nami was trying to create like a map of the world, or what she saw of the world. So there's obviously places out there that people haven't explored, but it's that hope, it's that ideal that out there somewhere, it's that call to adventure. It's kind of like what I was talking about in my first review, where I could immediately tell that this is an adventure series first and foremost, and it's that call to adventure that you have as a person, particularly when you're young, in order to kind of go out there and experience the world. But you need that kind of driving force, you need that goal, you need something that gets you out of your nest, right? Like that call to adventure. It's a storytelling trope that's been talked about with Joseph Campbell and like all of those kind of, you know, guys that kind of analyze storytelling and whatnot. And I like the idea that it comes from this child having this kind of hopeful ambition for this, but you can also kind of extract that for like a meaning of needing to escape and needing to explore. You know, it's like, it doesn't matter what the reason is, as long as you do it. Because most people will never leave. Most people will never do it. But his backstory really becomes my favorite because he gets stranded on an island with this old chef named Zeph, right? I think I have that right. Yeah, Red Leg Zeph. And it's this great dynamic of him kind of having this, you know, older adult figure that at first, you know, he really dislikes. And it seems like Zeph doesn't like him either, but he actually sacrifices all of his food, gives all of his food to this child so that the child can live on this island. And Zeph like chops off his own goddamn leg and eats his leg to survive while giving all of his food to Sanji. That is awesome. That's awesome. That's a great storytelling. That's great stuff. Really, really enjoyed that segment of the story. It really drew me to Sanji's character because Sanji, outside of that, you know, the way that he constantly swoons and simps over Nami and every other female in the series, you know, that's kind of like a standard kind of anime trope. That's, you always have that kind of character, but it's this dynamic between him and Zeph that really, really, I think made it my favorite backstory. I also think it kind of relates to Luffy's backstory with Shanks, because Shanks sacrificed his arm to save Luffy, and Sanji has somebody that sacrificed his leg to save him. So there's that similarity there, there's that parallel there that I really enjoyed. And I liked how when Sanji eventually left to go with Luffy, it was Zeph that basically, you know, told him to get out of there. And he did that for Sanji's benefit. So again, it's kind of that like older parental or like mentor figure that knows Sanji needs to leave. He needs to get out of here. He needs to experience more. He needs to hope for the All Blue. I have to get him out of here. And they both recognize that. Like, they both recognize the reason why he had Sanji leave. And so, like, all things together, like, after getting introduced to all the characters, even with Nami and the stuff that goes on with her, you know, I really think Sanji's backstory was my favorite of all the main characters. Then some other stuff happened that I thought was cool. There was this, I'm a little bit conflicted on this character, Krieg. The pirate Krieg, he comes and he's starving, and I also like how Sanji is like, well, you know, I can't let a man starve to death. I might kill him, but I can't let him starve to death. You know, good characterization of Sanji there. Good, lets me recognize, you know, what kind of man he is. I appreciate it. But Krieg, I think as a character so far, he just seemed like a bad guy. Like, he didn't really, I don't know, he didn't, I think so far, and like, this is not like a criticism of all of One Piece. Obviously, I've only read up to chapter 100. But so far, I think all of these villains or all of these antagonists so far have just been kind of basic. Like, they're just bad guys. Like, I know they're pirates, you know, whatever. Like, I get that. But I didn't really care about Krieg at all. Like, even as a villain, like, I didn't think he was that cool. I also didn't think that, you know, like he just kind of did like the generic bad guy stuff. Like he didn't care about his crewmate and things like that. And his battle with Luffy was all right, but I just didn't really care about him. Now, the other character that I thought was really cool, and this is stuff that is probably set up for things that are going to happen later, is the guy Mihawk. All right, so he's the swordsman. He's the other pirate. He just kind of shows up. He's a badass for a little while, and then he pieces out, which is, I respect that, you know? Mihawk is really cool. So this guy is a badass pirate dude. And I think, yeah, there was a line of dialogue that a character says later that there's 7 pirates that are authorized by the government. So, like, there's 7 pirates that are basically, like, allowed to go out and do their piratey shit. And Mihawk was one of them. So they said Mihawk, Jinbei was the other one. I think they only named 2. So they named Mihawk and Jinbei. And we haven't met Jinbei yet, so I'm sure he shows up later. But yeah, this guy was cool. You know, he's a swordsman. So he shows up and Zoro has a fight with him. And it's one of those moments for Zoro, which I really liked because I felt like since his introduction, like he's just kind of been along for the ride. But this kind of really gave him something to do and gave him like a motivation for the future as well. And you can also, if you want to, parallel that to that like older adult mentor character that kind of pushes him to be better. Not pushes him to go on an adventure like Luffy and Sanji, but like pushes him to say like, hey, you got the skill. I respect you. I still kicked your ass, but, you know, never let somebody beat you again. And Zoro's like, you know, I will never be defeated again. Basically saying like, I'm going to be at your level. Like I aspire to be at your level and I'm going to be at your level. And it's that kind of like confidence that I think like a lot of the characters have in the series where they just like Luffy says, I am the king of the pirates. Like I'm going to be the king of the pirates. Zoro says, I'm not going to lose a fight again. You know, they all make these sort of convictions. And as ridiculous as it seems in the moment, you know, it'll benefit them in the future if they believe, because belief is power in many ways. Like if you have that confidence, like there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance, but if you have that confidence and you truly believe that you are capable of something, you're far more likely to achieve it than if you don't believe you're capable of it, which is a lesson that I need to learn myself that I never let solidify. But anyways, so that was cool. Nami steals their boat. I wrote that. Sanji's got feet. That's my note. My note is Sanji's got feet. And I know what that means to me. Like, obviously he has feet, but like he fights with his feet because he can't wound his hands because he's a chef and he needs his hands to cook. So good stuff. I guess I like Sanji a lot more than I thought. But I will get into a light negative I have, and it's just it's a personal preference kind of thing. It's not anything that's bad or wrong with the manga. It's just preference for me. So I still am having a hard time getting behind some of Oda's character designs and kind of the wacky, you know, super cartoony faces that some of the characters make. But particularly with his fight scenes, I'm not loving them. I'm not loving the fight scenes. Like, the stuff that happens in the fight scenes is cool, but the way that it's drawn, the paneling itself, like, he doesn't hardly ever do any double page spreads. Like, he doesn't do any, like, big page splash kind of things. Like, there's usually a lot of things going on in his paneling, and this is hard for me to describe because I'm not an artist, so it's hard for me to describe what I mean. But like during a fight scene, there will just be lots of panels of lots of things going on and like little details in the background, which is cool. But like I have a hard time following the flow of the fight. Like from one panel to the next, it doesn't feel like characters throw a punch and then you see it from like the opposite angle and a character reacting. Like I don't know how to just. I wish I was an artist. I wish I could like describe what I'm trying to say, but like I guess I have a harder time following his fight scenes. And considering the format so far has been pretty much the characters show up at a location, there's a bad guy, there's an eventual fight scene. You know, this kind of I don't want to say repetitive because I don't want it to sound like I'm mad at it because I understand it's a shonen, it's going to do that. But like when it gets to the fight scenes, that's when I find myself kind of like being the least invested. Like I like the backstory stuff with the characters. I like the more emotional stuff, but I'm not really loving the way that he draws his fight scenes. And I hate to say that because like I don't want it to sound like I'm shitting on the series, but it doesn't work for me. But hopefully maybe it changes. Maybe it has more variety as time goes on. Anyway, so after that, we get into the Arlong Park little segment, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed this. Like, I would say Nami probably is my second favorite backstory now after reading this arc, which hers is a lot more elaborate. It's a lot more detailed. It's a lot more explained than any of the other characters, really, at least so far. It also introduces us to fish people. Fish people exist. I'm down with that. You know, it actually kind of reminded me of the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels. You know, like Davy Jones, like all of his crew was like different fish people. I don't know. It reminded me of that. Maybe Pirates movies got inspiration from One Piece. See that? It all comes full circle, man. I'm okay with it because I've already accepted the fact that this is a fantasy world, so the fish people can exist. Now, are they all assholes, or is it just this little segment of fish people? Because Arlong was the guy, right? Arlong was the leader. Yeah, Arlong. So he was very much like a mafia boss. That's the vibe I felt from him. Like, he comes into a town and he says, like, to Nami, you know, he's like, yeah, you can buy. Basically, Nami's whole thing so far is that she's trying to raise up enough money to pay Arlong for the island itself. And that's why she has an issue with these pirate characters, because this crew of fish people is kind of like that. And also, like, her whole backstory, like, she had this foster sister, a foster mom. The mom basically sacrificed herself so that her children could still live. Really tragic backstory for her that I appreciated a lot. And obviously, knowing, like, being aware of One Piece, I knew that Nami wasn't, like, actually a villain, because obviously she's in future chapters and stuff like that. So it wasn't like when I found out she was working for Arlong, I was like, oh shit, she's going to be the next big bad. Like, I knew, you know, that she obviously wasn't. But I like the idea behind it, is because she's trying to raise enough money to pay him off. But basically, the reason why I say he's like a mob boss is because it's a debt that can never really be paid, because as soon as she almost gains enough money, he basically has the money come and get seized. And he's like, well, you can try again. You know, so basically it's this like indefinite thing where it's like, as soon as she almost gets the right amount of money, it's just going to be taken away anyways. So it's like, yeah, you can pay me off, but you'll never be able to really, because we're just going to skeef your money every single time anyways. So she's basically kind of in this perpetual torment of being around this guy that is responsible for the death of her foster mother, while everyone else in the town hates her or seemingly hates her, while she also has to, you know, put on this facade of like, she basically uses like her feminine wiles, you know, to kind of lure people in, and then, you know, steals them or, you know, kicks them off the ship or whatever. She's like, turn around so you don't see me change, you know, and then kicks them off the ship. So, you know, she uses all these kind of manipulative tactics to try to get as much wealth as possible, but it's all in an attempt to kind of win back her homeland. So, you know, it's a good backstory for her. I liked it. I appreciated it. And but the fish people, like, they're all just assholes. And this is another thing, like, just like with Krieg, you know, I just like, they work well for like a group of villains, but like, you know, I can't wait to get into later story arcs where we actually have like a real big bad, like these kind of like early, more throwaway villains. You know, I just I don't know, I'm waiting for like, because I've heard things about like Doflamingo and stuff, like one of the big like bad guys of the series, and I'm like, that's what I want to get to, man. There's also multiple little things that happen with the Arlong stuff that I really liked. I liked that Nami pretended to stab Usopp, you know, where she really sliced her own hand so it would look like she was on Arlong's side, you know, to dispose of him. I also really liked the moment where they capture Zoro, and Zoro basically, he's tied up to a chair and he falls into the water, basically forcing Nami to save him, basically proving like, if Nami really didn't give a shit, she would have just let him drown. Right? So he basically was like, I'm going to try to kill myself and see if she saves me. So thankfully she did, because what if she really was, you know, on their side? Like, Zoro would have just like inadvertently killed himself. Yeah, but I like that moment. It was a good moment. It was a good moment for both their characters. Then when the fighting starts, you know, again, that's kind of like where it just kind of, it drops a little bit for me, just because, like I said, I think the paneling is a little bit hard to follow for me with the artwork of the wacky characters and stuff. Like, it just, the fight scenes are where it kind of like, it drops just a little bit for me, where I really like the story building stuff. I really like the backstory stuff, the emotional stuff. But yeah, same thing I felt here. Although during the fight between Luffy and Arlong, you know, we learn a lot about why they work very well as a crew. And Luffy as a captain, you know, he even talks about how I'm not good at navigating, you know, I'm not good at telling stories, I can't cook, all of these things. And that's why he grabs all of these specific people for his team. But I think it's important because the testament of a good leader is not to be the best at everything. The testament of a good leader is to bring out the potential of those underneath you. And I say underneath basically as not as like they're lesser people, but like just you're the it's the hierarchy. You're the captain and then there's the crew, right? But like the job of the captain, just like the job of any good actual boss or like the job of a director of a movie or something, it's your job to hire the best people. You are responsible for trying to get the best of the best and then trying to get the best out of that person, like to unlock their potential. And I think because Luffy is just so determined to do the things that he wants to do, you know, he inspires the best out of all of them. Like because he wants to accomplish his goal so maybe like foolhardily, he brings out the best potential out of everyone else wanting to achieve their goal. And then by them doing their best, the best of the whole, the best of the entire crew is propelled up as well. Am I explaining this right? I don't know. Again, off the cuff videos. If I could write this out, I could probably explain it a little bit better. But it's like the best that each individual member does, then the best the overall crew will be. And I think that that's what makes Luffy a good captain. So yeah, the Arlong thing wraps up and Luffy defeats Arlong, and then Nami decides to join the crew full time. And so now we have our full established crew. All the backstories are told. Everyone is safe from their original demons, you know, and now they're off to the Grand Line. So this is where kind of like our introduction phase, and to consider 100 chapters for an introduction phase is kind of crazy, but it's One Piece. But then the kind of epilogue to East Blue just gets, there's so much shit that happens. Like there's so much shit that happens in the last 5 chapters of this arc. It's like more than what happens to the end. Like the last 5 chapters of East Blue, like fucking, okay, so because of what happened at Arlong, now they are officially wanted. They have a bounty on their head. So this is what causes them to be, I guess, outlaws. So now they're officially pirates, right? So I'm sure that'll come into play. I'm sure we'll have a bunch of like bounty hunter characters coming after the crew and all of that. So now there's actually a bounty on their head. But they go to the island where the original pirate, Gold Roger, was executed. And it's the moment like before he says to everybody that the One Piece is out there. It's what inspires everybody to be a pirate. And also, by the way, I already have a theory about how the series is going to end, because Luffy goes up to his to his execution spot, and as he's about to, someone's about to like basically kill Luffy, and the guy with the cigars in his mouth kind of recognizes that Luffy looked like he was perfectly okay with it. So I have a theory now that the series is basically going to end after Luffy finds the One Piece, but he's not going to take it with him. He's not going to do anything with it. He's going to leave it exactly where it is. And then the end of the series is going to be an old man Luffy maybe being about to be executed, and he basically says, yeah, the One Piece is still out there, and he basically is the responsible for inspiring everybody else, a whole new generation of pirate. Like, he will become the Pirate King, he will become the best pirate, he will find the One Piece, but he'll leave it where it is, and he'll come back and like inspire other people to go out and find it. That's how One Piece is going to end. Quote me here, right here in this video. I said it. But yeah, there's so much shit that happens here. Okay, first of all, Shanks shows up. He's alive. He doesn't meet the crew, but he's there. Well, he might not. He's not on the island, I don't think. But anyway, Shanks is a thing. Shanks is still alive, and he finds out about Luffy. All right, so that's number one. Another thing is the fat lady from like the first couple chapters with Kobe shows up, but she's hot now because she ate a devil fruit that basically makes her, do I have this right? She ate a devil fruit that makes it so no attack can wound her body. But that seems like so ridiculously OP. Like, are there literally devil fruit? Because, okay, the thing with the devil fruits is like, I don't mind the devil fruits being like, you know, magical and giving people powers and stuff like that. But like, if there are devil fruit that can literally make you so powerful that you don't take damage, it just kind of like, I don't know. I feel like there's got to be some consequence to, I guess, like not being able to swim. I get it. But like, is there more consequence to that? Or it's just like, if you find the most badass devil fruit, you are just the most badass. And I also don't want it to like take away from characters training and, you know, pushing themselves beyond their limits to become better and more powerful, because it's just like, if you can just eat a devil fruit and then all of a sudden you're like the most powerful character, that would be, I think that would be a little bit of a cop-out. So I hope that that's not like the case. But whatever. Fat Lady is hot now. She's also teamed up with Buggy. And I'll be honest with you guys, when I saw Buggy again, I rolled my eyes. I don't care about Buggy. I don't know. Maybe he gets better in the future. But like, I was happy to be done with him. And now he showed back up. And I'm just like, all right, I guess he's still here, but whatever. So there's the Marine guy with like 2 cigars in his mouth. And so he's basically like after the pirates as well. So he's a new character that's introduced. So Shanks is back. The Fat Lady and Buggy are teamed up. Then it shows the Marine guy. Then this dude in like this like cloak with tattoos all over his face shows up, and like, am I reading this right? Like, it looks like he basically like creates the storm that happens that lets them escape, because he like stands behind the dude and like waves his arm, and then like all the rain starts shooting in a particular direction. Like, so does he have like the devil fruit that can control weather, and that's like his thing? I don't know, but I don't know who he is or like why he's there, but he's just like, haha, and he just like waves his hand and like the storm like goes everywhere. So, yeah, dude, I don't know. So there's a dude there. And what else? There was like another thing that happened. Oh yeah, Zoro meets this chick that looks like the girl that he grew up with, but it's not her. But there's like, okay, so he has like a girl antagonist now that's going to be after him. So there's like all this setup that's happening, but so much of it happens all at one time that like, it was a little bit difficult to keep it all straight. Also, now, you know, I don't know what direction the story is going to go in, because you could take any little piece of this. I guess that's the point, is like keeping it very open world to the point. Like I said in my first video, like One Piece kind of feels like playing Dungeons and Dragons a little bit, because, you know, you have this open world where all of these different things could happen. You could encounter any kind of character at any point in time, depending on the decisions you make. So maybe that's the point of this segment, where it's like, we're going to set up the Marine guy. We're going to set up Buggy and his crew. We're going to set up the weird tattoo cloak guy. We're going to set up the girl that's after Zoro. We're going to set up all these things. Also, there's a bounty on their head now, so we're going to have bounty hunters. And so there's like all of these things all kind of thrown at you at once. And then the crew is like, all right, we're peacing out. And then they just leave and they go to Grand Line, or they're going to Grand Line. So it's like, what direction is it going to go in? I don't know. So far, you know, I'm interested to see where this goes. So far, I think my favorite character is probably either Zoro or Luffy, even though I really like Sanji's backstory a lot. But we'll see. But there is still some things that I still just have a little bit hard time getting into. And I think it just comes down to just the style. You know, like sometimes it just gets a little bit too wacky for me, a little bit too silly. I just, the fight scenes seem so far to be a bit repetitive, and you know, I know that's because it's like the early stages of the story. So I'm sure like once like more powerful, like better, you know, bad guys, better villain characters that are actually like fleshed out, you know, show up. I'll probably like that kind of stuff more, because I enjoy those kind of dynamics rather than just like the D&D aspect of it, of like, go to a town, save the town, go here, you know, beat this bad guy, go here. That's fun when you're playing D&D, but reading a story, I want it to be a little bit more, you know, in depth, which I'm sure it will, you know, but I'm just not there yet. So as of right now, I'm just kind of like, all right, I want to get to like, you know, a really good adventure, a really good antagonist, you know, and kind of like expand this world a little bit, which looks like what we're going to be doing. So next is Grand Line. Well, next, the name of the arc is, what is it? It's Arabasta. So I don't know what that means. So yeah, so that will be the next one. That is like 100 chapters as well. So like I said, I don't know when the next review is going to come out, but I'll try my best to get through it as quickly as I can without trying to rush. So I don't know, maybe a couple weeks. We'll see how it goes. In the meantime, if you guys are new to the channel, I have a lot of videos. I have a lot of manga reviews. I have playlists for everything. So if you go to the manga review playlist or the anime review playlist, I also really love horror movies, and I do big, long horror retrospectives. There's a playlist for that. So if there's anything on my channel that can interest you in the meantime, I would love for you to check it out. If not, then, next One Piece review will be Arabasta. Can't even remember that word. Arabasta. That'll be the next arc review that I do. So whenever that gets done, whenever I finish it and I gather my thoughts, that's when I'll do it. But until then, like I said, I really, really appreciate the response on the last video. It means a lot to me, man. I really, really, really do. Thank you guys. YouTubing's hard sometimes, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys. You guys were very inviting, very, very nice. All the comments were mostly like super, super positive. So thank you guys. And yeah, I hope you'll continue to join me on this journey. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up, like to help it in the algorithm. Other than that, guys, I wish you the best, and I'll see you at Grand Line.